Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning to the students out there. We have brought you another episode of the components of English paper, English as a second language 0510 code reading and writing paper. We are mainly focusing on the composition elements. Already you have watched the programs covering report writing and review writing. Here we come to the next episode, and it is about exercise 6 or question 6, article writing, and this activity will give you about 16 marks, which are further divided into two categories. 8 marks are allocated for content writing. So, what are your thoughts? And 8 marks are allocated for the accuracy of your language, how you present them. So, here we go 16 marks, and then time allocated in the duration of about 2 hours paper, you will be given about 25 minutes of presenting your ideas on the answer script. Coming to the main requirement of the Cambridge examiner, we should focus on these things: writing a report or a review or an article of approximately 150 to 200 words, responding to a situation or short stimulus which may take the form of pictures and or short prompts. There are some bubbles on the question paper as well. The question includes information on the purpose, the objective behind, the format, the sequence of different paragraphs, and the audience definitely. Register or tone of your piece of writing defines how effective your presentation is. So, they are entirely different from the exercise 5 you would be opting. Moving on to the next page, here is a pattern of a question that appears in our ESL paper. Some people say that all young people should do some unpaid work to help improve the lives of everyone in their local community. Here are 2 comments from your friends. I feel really proud to see the changes we've made. Another comment is, I don't have any time to do volunteer work. Write an article for your school newspaper, giving your opinion, stating your views, or expressing your viewpoint. The comments above may give you some ideas, and you should try to use some ideas of your own. That is the overall requirement of the examiner. Number 1 aspect which we should focus on is general statement by young people, and they are asking for some unpaid work, in other words volunteer work. Another way of telling is some social work for which they will not get any wages or salary or reward. So, but that activity should be able to improve the lives of different people in the community and in the local community, not a broader community, right? Local community means they are expected to do some good for their own community members. The first comment that sounds, I feel really proud to see the changes we made. It's out of some excitement the person is presenting this outcome. The person is very happy about it, feeling very blissful that they have brought some good changes in their lifestyle of local community members. The other comment sounds very pessimistic. The person is not at all happy with this presentation. I don't have any time to do volunteer work. So, it means the person is not at all happy to move away from his room, his seat or bed. So, not at all, no voluntary work. These 2 opinions or these bubbles, they define the negative and positive approach towards the question. So, you have to write an article, a piece of containing 4 paragraphs or 5 paragraphs in which you have to present your opinion. Keep in mind, students, when it is a matter of review writing or report writing, you have recently been to an activity, you have done an activity, you have been a part of an activity, and you are writing about that. The situation, the package is fresh in your mind, but when it comes to an opinion writing question, it's always about the store of knowledge you have in your mind and some thoughts you have in your mind about the given situation. You have to think about the pros and cons, and you have to present the best opinion. Opinion is your mindset about your approach towards the topic. So, it heavily counts during the examination settings that you have to, whatever you are presenting, you should have enough points in your mind. So, you are supposed to write about 150 to 200 words within that time frame. When you are doing such an activity, you must be very focused. Nothing else should be in your mind. Moving on to the next slide, we will find what is expected from you again, and that is the content, whatever we are presenting. They should be able to write 150 and 200 words of continuous prose. It should not be in note form. It should be a continuous prose in response to short stimulus. I have shown you the bubbles in the previous slide. Short stimulus, which may take the form of pictures and or short prompts printed on the paper. The question includes information on the purpose, format, and audience. So, keeping in mind these three factors, you have to give your outcome. Moving on to the next, we have certain expressions. We can just keep in mind that these are some of the expressions you are supposed to take down. In order to introduce the point, you should use these expressions as they are very vivid on the screen. To begin with, to start with, firstly, in the first place, first of all, the first aspect or the first thing to consider is, and in the same way, secondly, thirdly, as per the sequence goes on, moreover, furthermore, and what's more. Another line of expression is what aspects to consider, yet another aspect, and another consideration is. So, these are some of the expressions. Besides that is another expression. Apart from that, in addition to this, what you have already presented, in addition to this, you give the next point, and on top of that expression should be used as when you are presenting your final point. On top of something means the most important, the thing that you are giving the top priority, there you should write this point. Okay. So, when in order to present some of the instances or examples to the examiner, you should use these expressions. For example, for instance, this can be shown in the, this can be seen or this can be shown in the picture, in the drawing, or in the illustration. This can be illustrated. Let me just give you an example. So, this could be, but then in your piece of writing you cannot use this expression. It could be for spoken when we are giving a speech, but here it's an expression. It could be a part of your memory, it could be a part of your understanding, so that you give variety of thoughts. I am giving you so many expressions on the screen, so that you should jot down some of the expressions which you might use it later on after consulting with your teacher in what situation this expression suits. Here, comparison is very common in our everyday matters. A child gets marks, another runs to the teacher and says, okay, he has got the mark and you haven't given me mark for this. Teacher tries to justify. So, comparison is very important. When we want to talk about such a topic in the examination, we do give comparisons as well. Here, one of the main elements is, one of the biggest factor is this, or one of the most significant aspects of teleclasses, for example, differences between the lifestyle of Europeans and our society. So, this kind of comparison, difference between West and East or Asia is there. You can give the further detail as the question requires. Okay, unlike West, people are more humane in our culture. Unlike West, East is the best or whatever. So this is how, and while the teacher was marking the books, we were doing the work. This is something, whereas although and is completely, entirely, totally different from the situation, okay, and is a little closer to something slightly different, slightly higher. My targets are slightly higher. Oh, last time I got 90, this time I want 90 plus and something, and somewhat is again comparison. How are you? I'm somewhat okay. It means somebody was not fine before. Now here somewhat is comparison again, and a great deal bigger, more elegant, and then these are some of the expressions which provide the examiner, provide the students even the comparison. So when they compare things, so this is how they are presented by using these expressions in our daily writings, daily reading materials, and daily communications every day in and day out. So we use these expressions. They would be definitely helpful for our writing. So conclusion, in the final statement or in the last paragraph, you should be concluding your remarks by saying that it can be seen from the data, it can be seen from the reactions, it can be seen from the total collection that has been raised by this social activity, or it can be seen that how when volunteer work is done, this is the outcome. It can be seen from the work done by the volunteers. So the information above that, so information above that means the total accumulation of funds or the total propaganda done in the total results of the campaign stay at home have been seen very vividly, very clearly, they are obvious. So this is how we can, taking everyone's comments into consideration. Yes, when we are giving a final opinion, we should cover up everybody's opinion, and then we write this, that taking everyone's comments into consideration, we have come to the conclusion that this is far more better than individual performance. So here, in conclusion, is a phrase that can be used to take the topic to the end or to culminate the whole activity. To conclude, to sum up, to summarize are the expressions. They are used by every student day in and day out. So it's nothing extraordinary that is being transferred to you, but only students have to be more focused so that the best product comes in the examination hall. Here we are giving you the format of how the exercise should go on. Here is the heading. I have given some headings. Take a moment to read these headings so that you will have a glimpse of what the heading unfolds in front of you. Okay, so after writing the heading of this, now regarding heading, I would like to focus, many of the students, they write whether one word is enough for heading or should we write the whole line. No, dear students, you should be able to convey a message, and it should be like a note making one note. As the purpose is served, you should go on for those many words, but then it should be very clear. So here, next stage on our attempting our answer is byline. Byline, you need not write this word byline. You can simply write your name on the right side of the paper, or you can write by and the candidate's name can be written, and this is how the first two stages of the opening, the first opening of the window is done by giving a heading and byline. Next, we should keep in mind, after writing heading and byline, what comes the next. Now here we must be clear how many paragraphs should be there in our piece of writing. Yes, many children, they have a feeling that 4 paragraphs are ideal. Some teachers teach that okay, 5 paragraphs are okay as well. What should we do? Depending on how many thoughts you have got, you should be able to justify them and present them in a consequent manner. So here in the first paragraph you give a simple introduction. paragraph 2 is considered, it contains the main body, the whole stuff, the whole content is in paragraph 2 and 3, and then in the fourth paragraph you have to give some suggestions, recommendations, or you have to conclude the whole debate. So, we will see what happens in the first paragraph. First paragraph is divided in multiple categories. Keep in mind, anything when we want to relate, we use time fixer. Now, here very recently or very lately, both have the same meaning. Not long ago, this is also something not in a recent, in a very recent past. So, these are some of the categories since the dawn of history. Nowadays we always talk about some factual piece of compositions. Nowadays, these days, government is asking or government is advising students or people to stay at home. Nowadays, these days, currently in this modern era, like when we talk of scientific some kind of steps we use in this modern era, in this modern world of science and technology, these are some of the points, these are some of the elements we should keep in mind. Are we talking about some past thing? There we should some recently some action that has been taken, we should say very recently, we should say very lately, not long ago. A certain park was opened, and now many people swarm in, they are gathering there, they are thronging towards this park, and then it has created a lot of fuss. Now government has to close down the park. So, this kind of thing. So, recently or very lately, when we talk of factual piece of writing, it always happen nowadays, currently, and these things. And when we talk of some very old thing, like for example, when we talk of smoking and banning smoking. So, smoking and banning smoking has been happening since the dawn of history. People have been chewing tobacco, have been having some kind of tobacco products. So, there have been people who have been struggling to stop this, ban this and prohibit this. So, this has been happening. So, it is a factual piece of writing. Coming to the next, time fixer. Previous one was time fixer. The second stage would be, the second word, second expression would be generalization. Generalization, in other words, is called thesis statement. Thesis statement is you are going to announce the topic. For example, the government or Ministry of Education has decided to install smart boards in all public schools. So, this step for this time fixer would be very recently, very lately, not long ago, Ministry of Education or government of Maldives, they have instructed schools to install some smart boards in the classrooms. So, very recently, we cannot say nowadays Ministry of Education or government of Maldives, they have, no, very recently they have taken this initiative, and this is how they have gone. Ministry of Transport has amended a law to ban the use of cell phone. So, when you read up to this, you would simply label this, what a strange decision. When you read the next line, it covers, it makes it a debate. Yes, that is Ministry of Transport has amended or Ministry of Transport has amended a law to ban the use of cell phone while driving, while riding, or while on wheel, while on steering. So, they have decided, okay, the law should be, there is a law, and then no, you cannot talk on phone when you are riding, when you are driving, or when you are on wheel. Next one is the administration of NIE has decided to, see, time fixer, very recently, very lately, the administration of NIE has decided to conduct teleclasses to utilize. What is the purpose of teleclasses? To utilize the free time available to students while stay at home campaign is in place. So, when these are three announcements of opinion writing questions. So, this is how generalization. First, time fixer. Second, generalization. We go to the third stage, and that is the public response or public reaction. Now, definitely when a policy is decided, when a step is taken, when an initiative is taken, there would be definitely no, we don't want, we want. So, there would be do's and don'ts, there would be reservations and there would be celebrations. So, here the policy, like for example, we go to the previous slide, and Ministry of Education, they have decided, they have announced to install smart boards in all the public schools, government schools. So, when we have such kind of policy announced by the Ministry of Education, there would be some people who will have applause, well done. There would be an admiration, yes, admiration, appreciation of something, or there would be no, we don't want, it's entirely devastating, we don't want, or there could be criticism, yes, we don't want this, it's not very necessary, it's not very important. So, this would be the reaction of the public. And then here there could be public, now yes, when seeing that situation, people have applauded, people have said no, we don't want. So, when such a situation happens, we will be standing there and we will be thinking about, I think the public opinion is divided on the issue. I think there is a varied opinion on the notion, or there is a difference of opinion on the initiative in discussion. Whatever is being discussed, that initiative has been very much criticized by the public. Many people have different views, and this is how they have gone about, and everyone thinks differently on the topic. It's a human nature that sometimes people support, some people they go against some policies. Okay, so the first stage was time fixer. Next stage is generalization or announcement of the topic. The third stage is public reaction, public response. Coming to the fourth stage, it's all about paragraph 1, time fixer, generalization, public response, and then here you have to give a general consideration. What is the general consideration? A piece of your mind. What is in your mind you are giving to the examiner that I personally consider. You know, there is a difference between consider or think and believe. Consider or think is a mild thought, whereas when it comes to believe, it means you have a strong faith in this. So, I strongly believe and I consider, there is a difference. The difference is in kind of these are two, they are kind of at different intensities. So, here okay, so you have to personally consider in one sentence you can write. So, all these covering 3-4 categories, first time fixer, second generalization, third one is public response, and the fourth one is general consideration. About 40 to 50 words you have to write. Don't go beyond that, because introduction should not take this long. Okay, so moving to the paragraph 2, and keep in mind this is the main body of your writing, main body of your opinion writing question. In paragraph 2, you are presenting your opinion, your piece of your mind, as well as you are giving your piece of mind as well as some people's thoughts to make this piece of writing sound very logical and full of expressions in favor or against. So, if you are writing the paragraph 2, it should start with some expressions. At this stage of your article, you are directed to give a precise viewpoint. You cannot zigzag on the point, it should be very clear. Opinion writing is not something that you have to give 50% of some presentation. You should, if you are questioned that whether you like Baskin Robbins ice cream or simple Nestle ice cream, you cannot simply say I like both, When you are being asked about an opinion, you would definitely go for some product of your choice. You cannot say both I like. That's not an opinion. That's something else in your mind. So you want to have both. So you would go for one. That's called opinion writing. Now here at this stage of your article, you are directed to give a precise viewpoint, positive or negative. Whether you are taking the positive side or the negative side, you should be having strong points. So to express your first strong point, you can express the opinion of someone using such expressions. For example, now you are starting with this expression at the very outset. In other words, to begin with. Another expression is to start with. Another expression is at the initial stage. You are going to write the expressions of, okay, you have presented a situation and the supporters of, again going back to the question, like for example homeschooling. The supporters of homeschooling applaud the idea. Supporters definitely would kind of commend it. The supporters, if I am a supporter of a different item, so I would definitely support, I would give my points in favor of that situation. And if I am dead against, my points will never go in that favor. So the supporters of, or the people, or people who favor the notion, or the proponents. Proponent is the opposite word of opponent. The proponents of the issue, they simply applaud. Applaud means appreciate. They believe. When you have a belief in something, so definitely you would be having a very strong faith. Claim. When you claim something, so means you have some solidity in your thoughts. And commend is also an expression that is mostly misread by our students as commanded. We say commend. Commend is an appreciation. We talk commended report is an appreciated report. Commend, and the last expression is admire. Admire is also, it comes under some kind of praise or some kind of appreciation. Okay, so the supporters of homeschooling, volunteer work, the supporters of using cell phone, not using cell phone on the drive, on the wheel, they applaud the idea, they appreciate the idea, they believe it would result in stopping many accidents. The proponents of the issue, for example homeschooling, the the proponents of the issue, they admire homeschooling because of its free choice of subjects, free choice of timing. So this is how the point is presented. There is a great support there is a great support of the idea by saying that the issue is in debate. Okay, so this is how you have to use the expression, and first strong point you have to present in paragraph 2, okay, by using these expressions. So you have to put the first strong point and then another second point. So in paragraph 2 you are, in the beginning you have to give some strong point in favor or against, so it gives the examiner an idea about whether the student is in favor of the debate or against the debate. So using these expressions and these adjectives, you have to go on with first and second point in paragraph 2, and they should be supported by some logic, some reasoning. So then only there will be kind of something very emphatic points. Paragraph 3, it will contain an other strong point, whether you are writing what you are writing in paragraph 2. So in paragraph 2, if you are taken the positive side, you have presented 2 points. In paragraph 3, you still continue with another positive points. So these are 3 points you have presented. After presenting 3 points, you can write this statement: having presented your choice of side means having presented the positive aspects of volunteer work. Having presented your choice of side means having presented whether you are on a positive side or on a negative side, having presented your side, use a transitional phrase. Transitional phrase is when you are switching from one side to the another side, like transit. Transit is also something, we have transit flights. When we go to a specific airport, we have 8 hours of transit, then we switch to the next flight. So, that is a transit. Here also transitional phrases are, yes, we are going to the other side. On the contrary, we are going to the second side. However, very commonly used by many students, however. Next is nevertheless. The fourth expression is at the same time, whereas on the other hand, or contradictory to the points. Now, here by using any of these expressions, which many of our children they would write however, or on the other hand, or at the same time, these are expressions. Try using this expression on the contrary. That is a different expression, every child does not use. So, please note down these points, and whenever you feel like you should use these expressions. So, after you have used any of these expressions, you are transiting to the other side, and that would be point presented earlier. Now, see, this is you are going to use this expressions any of these expressions when you are switching to the other side. Presented earlier, use an opposite approach in one sentence only, that would suffice the need. Suffice, a good word, it means it is a verb and it goes for the word sufficient. So, here, so that would only one point you have to write. In the third paragraph, after having presented 3 points in favor or against, there you have to write only one point to tell the examiner, yes, I am not only one sided, I have another viewpoint as well, I have another approach as well. Okay, so, this is how you have to go paragraph 3. So, the word limit for this is about 30 to 40 words. So, the first paragraph about 50 words, up to 50 words, second paragraph also about some 30 to 40 words, this also 30 to 40 words, it could be 45 as well, no problem. And when it is a matter of count of words, keep in mind the space provided on the answer script is all for you. You can use the whole. If your handwriting is of a bigger font, try to justify with the lines provided. You are not recommended to go and write on the blank page unless there is some emergency. That emergency will be decided by the chief invigilators. So, you have to simply write the whole page, you have to cover the whole page, and if you have a smaller handwriting, kindly try to justify it according to the space provided, make it slightly bigger. Everyone has the same approach. When anyone reads any piece of writing, very small handwriting with a dimly lit ink, so it won't be kind of something very impressive for the examiner, unease would be there as well. So, kindly try to present your piece of writing as efficient, as competent as much as possible. So, here, so paragraph 3 is done now. Now, here the final garnishing on the dish is being done, that is a conclusion, and it should be in about some 30 words. So, altogether the exam requirement is 150 to 200 words. We have to write 4 paragraphs. So, here we go for the conclusion, and this should be in 30 words, and final and concluding paragraph attempted by majority of candidates, where they come up with an emphatic approach. Emphatic is a word taken from the word emphasis. Emphasis is when you lay some stress on something. So, your emphatic approach, your full of power approach should be presented. So, keep the best point for the last paragraph, so that the examiner feels impressive, yes, very valid point it is being presented here in the last paragraph. So, here it can be linked with some suggestion too. when you are supporting, for example, some volunteer work, you can simply relate with some suggestions, like giving an example of Red Crescent. You can giving some kind of volunteer work organizations, how they are working without any reward. So, anyhow this kind of thing can be, and this is how you conclude this piece of writing. This can be written by using some of the expressions given here, and they would be, I think, is a very strong, many of you will not use this expression. I believe that is a good recommended kind of expression. I am of the opinion. Yes, it is also another expression that you would happy to use. It seems to me that unpaid work or volunteer work brings a lot of mental satisfaction or something. Personally, I believe that every youngster should be involved in some volunteer work, or in my view, in order to make the world a better place to live, we should spare some time for the human welfare or social activities. If you ask me, I am in favor of volunteer work. As far as I am concerned, again you are here one strong point, and then so all these expressions would help you in examination hall to give a good set of expressions or words or sentences in your final piece of writing, so that you can grab good marks. Coming to the next, there is another expression. I strongly recommend it goes for some suggestions. Suggestions or recommendations, it goes. So, please use any of these expressions to present your final opinion. I would not recommend you to use this expression, I think, because it is a very weak point. I think, no, I strongly believe, I am of the opinion, as far as my opinion is concerned, my viewpoint on the issue is dash. So, this is how you go, and now I am giving you some of the food for thoughts, and they are the points which will shake your mind, and then you will be able to think critically. Opinion writing question is based on developing some critical thinking in you. You become judges and you decide on whether it is right or wrong. The public or the examiner, they are sitting in Cambridge examination marking hall, will decide on how beautifully the child has presented the piece of writing, or the students or candidates have presented the piece of writing. These are some of the situations. Sit alone, formulate some points in favor of the situation or against the situation, grade them, rate them. This is 1, this is 3, no, this is 2, this is 5. So, I will have these 5 points in my mind to go in favor of this, or these are, I have only very few 3 points against. So, why not take some positive side? Yes. So, these are my 5 points. I have given 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have rated them according to their importance. So, keep the first point in the first paragraph, second paragraph, first point, and another strong point you keep it for your final opinion. The other 2, 3 ideas you can use in between. So, your first point in the paragraph 2 should be very strong and emphatic, supported by some logical support, reasoning, whereas the last paragraph should contain your final opinion with a strong evidence and a bit of recommendation afterwards. So, these are some points, and they say that online teaching versus conventional teaching. This is very common topic, you can work a lot on this. Cell phones connect or create distances among people. Very valid, very current issue that is in debate in this question. Cell phones connect or they create short distances among people, and virtual communication is better or face-to-face interaction. Virtual communication, all the emails and through gadgets what we communicate with people, or just simply face to face talking to people is better. Coming to the last is homeschooling. Second last point is homeschooling is better or traditional schooling. Yes, these days you must have experienced how homeschooling is. and how the traditional schooling is, where is more fun. And homeschooling, definitely you would go for traditional schooling, keeping in mind the current scenario that is going on all over the world. So, homeschooling you have a clearer picture now, and traditional schooling as well, you will have a very clear approach. Science, it is a manifold, there are two topics. Science or internet is a blessing or a curse? Yes. Is it a blessing or a curse? The situation is open for you all students to think, to brood, to contemplate, and then ultimately you have to present a best piece of writing, show it to your teachers, and definitely they would guide you and they would tell you that where you are lacking in, what language beauty is missing, what accuracy is missing, whether the ideas are coherent or there is a sequence of thoughts in your piece of writing, where you need to improvise, and what is already perfect. And that is all what I wanted to tell you about opinion writing question. And here is one more topic. Modern day students are luckier. Are you lucky? Or our ancestors, our elderly people, they were lucky. Modern students are luckier. Yes, here we come to the close of the lesson. The last is animal experiments must be abolished. Animal experiments. Keep in mind, animal experiments, some medicine being researched on, and finally where should they experiment? On human beings? No, nobody would be ready. Animal experiments, they should be experimented on animals, certain ideas should be deduced from there, and then finally medicine for the human beings should be prepared. Here we come to the close of the whole presentation. Students, please feel free, develop critical thinking in you, and you should see the positive and negative side of the things. Don't be just irrational in asking questions. Do open WH windows in your mind and do ask, but not to get panic, and hope the session has been very helpful to you. Almighty be with all of us and keep us stay safer and blissful. Thank you for the listening. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.